Hi guys! Welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be filming episode 4 of the Lunar podcast, and I am so excited about today's episode. I have some really exciting finished objects, but first, I am Lori and I am the maker behind Lunar Knits by Lori here on YouTube as well as Instagram, Ravelry. I have a blog with that as well. Anywhere on the internet you can find me with that. So I'm not wearing anything knitted today because it is freezing cold here in Columbus, Ohio. We got tons of snow last night and I just wanted to be extra cozy. Like I just mentioned, I am located in Columbus, Ohio, where I live with my wonderful husband and my 2 dogs, Roxy and Makoa. So if you hear any little tippy tappies in the background, that's who that is. So I've been working away like crazy on some of my sweaters that I showed you last time, as well as a couple of new things that I couldn't resist casting on. I am definitely not a monogamous knitter. I like to have tons of projects going at once so I can go back and forth because I get frustrated really easy when I'm like sitting there knitting and I'm just like, oh, I need to do something different. So it's nice for me to have like a color work project, a stockinette project, something smaller that is like instant gratification. So I have a good variety here. It's mostly sweaters, but I do have one tiny little object that I made for my husband that I wanted to show you guys. But first things first, I want to start with acquisitions, enhancements, whatever you want to call it. I have some pins that I got from Twill Print. She's somebody that I've been following on Instagram for a while. She makes beautiful project bags and I hope to someday own one. They're just stunning. I really recommend you checking them out. She also sells a lot of enamel pins. So I noticed that she was having a sale recently, a couple weeks ago. It was called a second sale. So the second sale for pins is basically, they might have a little flaw on them, but these pins look perfect. So I got 6 of them. One of them I'm not going to show you because it's a duplicate I got for a future giveaway or Fiverr share partner, but I thought I'd show you the other ones. So here is my first project bag with some of the pins. Some of these I've had. So this one is not new. This one I got from Our Maker Life. But this one is one of her Russian dolls that's kind of like a mug. It has a little handle on the bottom here. And then I have the Just One More Row spinner, which is so cute. So when this isn't attached to a bag or anything, this actually spins and it's just like, just one more row, just one more cookie, just one more episode. I thought it was so cute. So I got 2 of those because those are normally pretty expensive and I was eyeing it at my local yarn shop. Glad I waited it out because I got it at a really great price. So I did pick up 2 of those for the future. And then I have this adorable sleeve island one here. I absolutely love this pin. It's so funny. It's got a little sleeve as like a flag. I hope you guys can see this because I can't see what's happening on the camera right now. And then I'm gonna show you this one as well. This one is by Serenity. This is one of the pins that she just came out with. It says we're all just whips, so works in progresses, and I couldn't resist. It's so cute. I have all of those on this project bag here. I can't remember what the company is. I got it from my Fiverr share partner last year and I absolutely love it. It's a really great size. It holds quite a bit of stuff for how small it is, and then I just like how it closes because I like to attach it to my bags when I travel. You can easily just attach it around, hold it on your wrist and pull out the yarn through there. So one of my favorites for sure. And I had a couple other pins on my other project bag that I showed you last time that Posey sent me with the yarn that I used to sample knit for her. So I also have this Make Wear Mend one from Twill Print. So cute. I love this one. It's adorable. I kind of wish there was a pattern for that sweater. I'd totally make it. And then I have the last one, which is her Crafty Girl one, which is the one I've been eyeballing for like actual years. I really wanted it and I finally grabbed it. So the great thing with Twill Print is anytime she makes one that's like a person or a face or anything, you can get it in multiple skin tones. So I got the light skin tone because I wanted it to go more with me. But if you have a darker skin tone or a medium skin tone, she has pins for everyone. So if you're looking for somebody that's really inclusive in the community, she's really great for that. And then these 2 other pins I've had for quite some time. I got this one in my Fiverr share, this little llama. And I'm not sure what the name of the company was that I got the Stitch and Witch one from, but it really spoke to my soul, so I picked that up. And yeah, so I don't have any yarn to show you, which is great because that means I didn't buy any, but I do have some on the way because I am doing a sample knit for Hello Stella yarn, and I cannot wait. I've only used her yarn one other time and I absolutely loved it. So I'm really excited to be using her yarn again. I'm just waiting for that to show up in the mail, and you'll probably see that in a future episode. Okay, I feel like I've been talking a mile a minute, so sorry if I am really fast talking. That's just how I am. But anyways, let's go ahead and get into the finished objects. I'm gonna first start with a really small finished object. So I recently went through all of my commercial yarn, so my Lion brand, my loops and thread, all of that. I went through that to destash. You probably saw the video on my channel. I did the KonMari method and it was a lot of fun, but I really got to see what yarn I still have in my collection. I don't really gravitate toward commercial yarns anymore, mostly because I like to make garments, and I think I like using the higher quality yarn for garments so they last a lot longer, but there's absolutely nothing wrong with commercial yarns. Anyways, I was able to see that I had a ton of faucets left, and it got really cold here. If you guys are in the west or the east coast of America, then you know we just went through that polar vortex, and I think it got down with the wind chill of -28 here. So I knew I needed to make my husband a hat, because every time I make him a hat, he wears it to his parents' house and his mom always steals it. So he didn't have one. And so I let him go through my faucets and my kaleidoscope yarn because he doesn't like wool. He only likes acrylic yarn. So if you guys have any recommendations of any nice quality yarn that I can make him a sweater with, definitely let me know. Leave a comment down below. It just needs to be really soft, not scratchy, something you can wear close to his skin, but I want it to be a little bit higher quality than something I can get from a big box store. But anyways, he went through my yarn and picked out a couple colors of faucets. And I love making him pick out his own color combos because he always picks the most unique things, because he has a very out there style. He likes colors, he likes prints, he likes all of that, which is kind of rubbed off on me since meeting him, because I have colors and prints everywhere. I love it too. So he chose 2 colors of yarn and I put it together to make him a double brim beanie. I have a tutorial for this on my YouTube channel on how to make a double brim. So if you want to know how to make your own, you can find it on there. So he chose the gray faucets, and I'm sorry, I don't know any of the names of these. I believe this one was called Black Diamond, but they no longer make this yarn, so you can't get it anyways. But it's a really cool gradient gray. I love the way it worked up. He also chose this really cool color. It's like a rainbow basically, which shouldn't surprise me at all. But I wanted to make him something wearable, so I did like a little peekaboo. So you can see on the bottom of the double brim, there is just a peekaboo of that color, and then inside it's all that color, which I thought was a lot of fun. And I sewed on one of my tags using an orange thread, because I always like to add a pop with my thread when I sew it on. I just think it's a nice little touch. So it's super cute. I'll put it on for you. It's a little big for my head. So there she is. It looks really cute on. I love the pop of color there, and he really likes it as well. I just need to make sure he takes care of it, because this yarn gets really pilly because it is a single ply roving, so you guys know how that is, and men don't always take care of their stuff. But either way, I know he'll love it and get a lot of use, and I have a bunch more of this yarn, so I think I'm gonna make some more for him, because I know his mom's probably gonna want to steal it if she sees it. So for this pattern, I casted on 54 stitches for him. He does have like a larger male head, so that's for reference on that. And I believe I used an 8mm, I used 8mm knitting needles with a 16-inch cord, of course. And I didn't do anything too crazy. I just did the double brim, like you can find in my tutorial. And then I just knit a bunch of stockinette, and I did do a few extra decrease rows than I typically would. So I think you can kind of see how it decreased, because he didn't want a pom-pom, so I didn't want it to be too bulky at the top. So I think I did 2 or 3 decrease rounds as well on this hat. If you want any details, you can definitely leave a comment down below, and I'll try to get back to you with exactly what I did if I can remember. But that's my first finished object, and I'm really happy with it, and I definitely want to make some more just to have on hand for maybe crush shows in the future or for family members, because it's really cute and I like the pop on the inside. So enough with that one. My next finished object is actually a sweater. It is my date night sweater that I showed you guys last time that I did with Hobium. I'm not going to talk too in depth about this one just because I have an entire video that I just uploaded today, unboxing the yarn, reviewing the yarn, and showing off the pattern. And the pattern is now live on Hobium's blog, so I'll have it linked in the description below, and it's also linked in the other video that I did. But here she is. This is my date night sweater. It is adorable. I believe last time I showed you, I was about a quarter of the way through the body, so about right here. I didn't have any of the sleeves, and the bottom of the body wasn't finished. But she's finished now. And yes, I refer to all my knits as she's apparently. If you guys haven't noticed from my last video, it just comes out that way. I don't know. But I used a 100% merino yarn held together with 2 strands of lace weight mohair. So it has a really nice halo on it. I'm obsessed. I did block it and it gave it a really nice fabric. It didn't grow too much, so I don't think that it's a super wash yarn. The thing with Hobium yarns is a lot of the time I can't read everything on the label because it is from another country, it's from Turkey. But if you want to hear more about their website and shipping and everything like that, just watch the other video that I posted. I'll have it linked in the description below so it's easy to find. But I'm going to tell you a little bit about this sweater. It comes, I think I wrote the pattern for small, medium, and large, but it's incredibly easy to modify. And if you have any questions on modifying it, I'm more than happy to help you with that math. But it is a little bit cropped. It's not like cropped by today's terms. I think I said this in that video. It hits right at the top of my pant line, which is exactly what I wanted, so I could wear it with dresses and skirts and high-waisted things, because that's what's trendy right now and that's what I like to wear. And then it has my favorite feature, the bubble sleeve, or the balloon sleeve if you will. So it is basically knit in a tube, and then you decrease extremely at the end, and then I added some ribbing just to tie everything together because there is ribbing on the bottom as well. Now, when I blocked this, the neck stretched out a little bit more than I wanted, so it kind of is floppy, so I need to reblock that. And I also recommend in the pattern going down a needle size for the ribbing, which I didn't do, but I think it would have really helped give it that structure and keep it tight on your neck. It's really soft because of the mohair, and the merino was soft as well. And I just really liked this pattern. It was a really great pattern for me because it's the first raglan I've ever made from the top down. I did make a raglan from the bottom up. I think I mentioned this in the last podcast that I did. I'm really proud that I figured out the math and it worked out and it fits amazing. Like, it's fit perfectly for my body and I love that. It has the lace detail that I really wanted. So basically just the yarn overs for the raglan create those eyelets. Loved that so much. Overall, I'm just really happy with how this sweater came out, and I really hope that you guys enjoy the pattern as well. And if you decide to make one of your own, I hope you tag me on Instagram because I definitely want to see everybody's date night sweaters. And I actually saw so many comments on the picture that Hobium posted announcing the pattern saying, oh, I wish it was unisex. And I replied to them and I said, who says it's not? This could definitely be a unisex pattern. You can change the neckline if you're not too into that. The bubble sleeves, you can do some decreases. I still think that it could be worn for anyone. You just have to be confident in yourself, and if you like it, wear it. Change the color if you want. If I'm partial to this pink, even for men, my husband's favorite color is pink, so like, come on. You can wear whatever you want. Nothing's limited. I don't say it specifically for girls in the pattern, so if you want to make this and you're a guy, make it. But I believe that's all I have to say about this pattern. It's a really basic, beginner-friendly pattern. You just need to know the knit stitch, the purl stitch, yarn overs, which are really easy. You can just YouTube it and you'll be totally fine, trust me. And then there is a little bit of shaping for the neck so it fits a little better, so you'll need to be familiar with any version of short rows that you choose. I'm partial to the Japanese short rows. I think it's easier to see where you need to pick them up. Opposed to the wrap and twist. I have a really hard time with wrap and twist. I just have a hard time seeing where I need to pick them up. But I hear German short rows are great as well. I think I'm gonna try that one next, but the Japanese short rows works really well for me and I don't get any holes when I do it that way. So I'm very pleased with the way this one came out and I can't wait to keep designing more garments for you guys. If you have any suggestions of what you wanna see, just let me know. I know I need to make some more crochet patterns but knitting has my heart right now. It really does. I can't remember the last time I really crocheted anything. probably when I made those scrunchies, but I don't even consider that crocheting really. But anyways, that is my date night sweater. It is released now. You can get the pattern for free on the Hobium blog, and I do have a discount code if you want to purchase the yarn that I used as well that I highly recommend. It is Lunar Knits 20. Just use it at checkout and you'll get 20% off. And I believe you can use it with any other sales that they're having. So you can get a really great deal on this yarn because it's already affordable. But that's enough about this sweater. Let's move on to the most exciting sweater in this whole video. Okay, so as I mentioned in the last podcast, I am doing a sample knit for Posey Yarn Company. So basically what a sample knit is the company, this case being Posey, she sent me her yarn and she asked me to knit a pattern for her, and she asked me to knit the Nordica by Caitlin Hunter for her and her beautiful yarn, and I have finished that. So once I finish it, I'll send it back to her so she can use it at her trunk show, she can use it for displays anytime she does anything with her yarn and she needs to show it off. And then in return, I actually get some yarn, so I am not mad about that. So this sweater is made out of her Pressed Flowers colorway, Raven, and Red Velvet, and here it is. This is the Nordica by Caitlin Hunter. So as you can see, it is a pretty basic raglan on top with this gorgeous neckline, guys. The neckline is my favorite part of this entire sweater, which is crazy because the color work is amazing too. But look at this neckline. The deep V and the ribbing, I love it so much. So this is the Pressed Flowers colorway. The top raglan is made with a cable, and I absolutely love that. So there's 4 cables, on the 2 on the front, 2 in the back, and then you get down to the bottom here, and this blue colorway is the Raven, and then the red is the Red Velvet, of course. And here is a closer look at the color work on the bottom. And then there is a bit of color work on the sleeve that is different than the color work on the body. There are some aspects that are the same, but it is pretty different. So I believe the last time I showed this to you, I hadn't even joined for the raglan yet. I think I was still like working on creating the V-neck, because the construction of this is you kind of work back and forth and then you join in the round. I'm not going to give too much away, obviously, because Caitlin Hunter is very talented and you definitely need to support her so she can keep doing her thing. So definitely go check out this sweater. It's one of her newest ones, so there's not a lot of people that have made it, I've noticed, which is pretty fun to be one of the first ones that have like completed it, and I'm really happy that I get to show it off to you guys because I have been like stalking the hashtag for the sweater because I'm actually making one of my own, if you remember from the last podcast, and I can't wait to cast it on now that I have this one done. So this yarn is a single ply, and it's extremely like lightweight and flimsy. I love it so much. This was, I believe, the first time working with a fingering single ply yarn. It's amazing. It blocked out really well. It's really shiny. Overall, the yarn is fantastic, and I think she's doing kits for these. So if you're not already following Posey on Instagram, you probably should be because it's amazing, her yarn. Okay. And I had a couple things to say about the pattern as I was making it. Nothing wrong with the pattern itself, but me as a creator, I ran into some issues or some things that I just wanted to mention to you guys. So the first thing was the neckline here, just the technique that's used for it. You do get a bit of a gap. So I consulted with the person that I'm making this for, and we decided to go ahead and close that gap up. So if you notice on mine, it's closed up. So if it looks different from any of the other Nordicas that you've seen, it may be a little bit more of a gap there, but I think it looks a little bit more finished and clean when it's sewn right there. So I did go ahead and do that. It doesn't say it in the pattern to do that, so it's really just personal preference. We just thought it would look a little bit cleaner and more finished. And then on the sleeves here, whenever I did my first sleeve, and there is this last row of color work here that you need to do while doing the magic loop or with double pointed needles. And I've never done color work when I had to use the magic loop method. I don't mess with double pointed needles, so that wasn't even an option for me. So when I did it, it was extremely tight, so I did have to rip back to here and then redo that part. But it wasn't a big deal at all. It was a little frustrating at first, but we made it work. Another thing that I don't quite know what went wrong still is I made the medium size, and I did meet gauge. In fact, like I checked it again and I still had gauge, So I don't know what's going on there, but it didn't come out quite as large as hers. She calls for 10 inches of positive ease, and this is only about 4 to 6 inches of positive ease, which I felt really bad about because I was making it for somebody else. It fits me perfectly, like the exact way that I want. It has like 4 to 6 inches of positive ease on me. Love it. And I'm a 36-inch bust, so if that helps you any. But I do know with Caitlin Hunter's patterns, she does knit pretty loosely. So if you're a tight knitter like me, you definitely need to go up a needle size, which I did on this. I can't remember what needle size I used, but I do know I went up a needle size. But just swatch and you'll be totally fine. And the color charts are extremely easy to read as always with her patterns. And it's so addicting. I finished this really, really quickly. Like, I've never finished a sweater this fast, ever. I just didn't want to put it down. Whenever I combined the yarn with my Chiagu needles and the pattern, it was just flying off my needles. I'm excited to send this back to her in Canada so she can get all the enjoyment out of it by showing it off and just seeing her beautiful yarn knit into something so pretty. I love it. Another thing that I really enjoyed about this pattern is Sleeve Island is a very short stay. I'm not particularly a fan of Sleeve Island. I just think it's kind of boring because usually it's just stockinette. But not only is this pattern like color work, but when you do the sleeves, the entire sleeve is the color work. So really all you're doing is the color work and then you're done with the sleeve because it's fitted to about here. It's not a full length sleeve. You can of course make it a full length sleeve by adding some rows here. I think she does recommend that in the pattern if you want to add length. But it was so cool that I just had to do the color work and then I was done. So I did both the sleeves in one day and it wasn't bad at all. Love that. And I love the fit of it over a dress is perfect. I took some pictures of me wearing it over a very cute floral dress that I'll be posting on Instagram, and I think I have one as the thumbnail of this video, so you probably did see that. So highly recommend this pattern. Highly, highly recommend Cozy Posey's yarn. I can't wait to use it again. I think the pattern that I want to make with the yarn that she's going to send me in return is the Red Moon sweater by Born and Raised Knits. If you guys haven't seen it, you should check it out if you like moons like I do. As you can tell by my name, Lunar Knits, and I also have my moon tattoo. It's just something I really enjoy, so I don't have a moon sweater yet, so I definitely need to make one of those. All right, so I'm pretty sure that's all the finished objects that I have, and that means we're moving on to works in progresses. I have 3 for you, I think. So I'm just gonna dive right into the Sunset Highway that I showed you last podcast. Okay, so I haven't really been working on this too much. I'm on the body now, so it's all stockinette, and so it's been nice to just go back to it whenever I need that refresher, but I kind of just keep casting on other things, which is really bad. But I do have some progress to show you from the last time. So this is my Sunset Highway by Caitlin Hunter as well, or Boylan Knitworks. And it's grown since the last time I showed you, just slightly. I did mark it. This is where I was last time. And so you can see I've done a few inches. I actually split for the sleeves since I've shown you last. I didn't have the sleeve split, but there are sleeve holes now. And I am just working 15 inches of body, and then I will be able to work on the sleeves, which do have a little bit more color work, which is exciting. And let's see. So I just want to show you my stitch marker really fast. This adorable little globe has a bunch of star confetti in it, which is so cute. I can't remember the maker of it, but I know I mentioned it in one of my previous podcasts, and it's also on my blog, so everything is linked on there so you can find one of your own. So I'm gonna go over the colorways that I'm using for you just as a refresher. This light colorway is Hedwig by Explorer Fibers. The mustard is Autumnal Equinox by Lane and Lotus. And then this peachy color is the one I used for my swag, if you watched the last episode, and it is Vintage Love by Lane and Lotus, and it's a natural dyed yarn using avocado, so it's a really cute peachy color. And then the obvious yarn here that is just like in your face is Mountains at Dusk by Explorer Knits and Fibers. So you get a better view of it this time than the last time I showed you. There's a lot more work on it. So I am alternating skeins every single row just to help prevent any like extreme pulling with the yarn. But as you can see, it definitely still is pulling, which I think is pretty much expected with a variegated yarn like this. And it's not something that I love, so this is definitely out of my comfort zone. But the more I knit on it, the more I am liking it. I don't know, it's really just like, it's really fun to see where the blues are gonna come. But again, I think it is pulling a little bit, even though I am alternating skeins. It's just how the yarn is, honestly. I wish I had it still in a skein or a hank so I could show you, but this is what it looks like in the cake form. You can see that just lots of colors throughout it. When it was in a hank form, it was like a lot of blue in one section, so that's to be expected with the alternating of the skeins. Like, it still is pulling a little bit, but it's not that bad, and I really like that it's a little bit different than anything else, but it is a little out of my comfort zone. Now, like I said, I'm alternating skeins every row, and I have been watching a lot of podcasts, and they talk about, like, they kind of get a seam when they do alternating skeins, and so I kind of tried to use the techniques that they were mentioning, even though I never really had a problem with a seam when I alternated skeins. So I tried to use the technique that some of them were saying, and I got a really bad seam, like right here in the back. You probably can't tell because this yarn is so variegated, but there's a little bit of a really bad seam that I think will come out with blocking, I hope. But then I just went back to the technique that I always use. Okay, some of my stitches slid off, so I had to fix those really quickly. But as I was saying, I went back to the technique that I always use of dropping the yarn when I knit the last stitch and picking up the new color for the first stitch on the other side of my marker. And I have no seam whatsoever. It's absolutely flawless. Like, you can't even tell. The tension is perfect, the stitches are right in place, so I think I'll just keep my own technique and not worry about what other people are doing, because this works for me. There's no gaps, there's no nothing. It just works for me. So if you have trouble with when you're alternating skeins, getting like a seam or wonky stitches or anything, try dropping your working yarn on the last stitch and picking up the other yarn on the first stitch, and just make sure you're keeping the stitch loose that it was attached to previously. That way you're not pulling it super tight and then you're gonna get a tight stitch below the first one, if that makes any sense whatsoever. Just be conscious of your tension when you're switching yarns, because you're gonna get a wonky stitch if you're pulling it too tight. It's just like color work. You need to make sure the tension is right, you're leaving enough slack for it. So it's nothing to really worry about, especially if you're not alternating skeins. I am making the size small in this sweater. I don't necessarily want it as big as hers, and I don't think it's gonna be, because like I said, I knit a little tighter and I didn't even swatch. I do know that Caitlin knits tighter, and I know how my gauge works up using her patterns because I've made a couple already. So I knew that if I made the small and I used like the gauge, it would come out fitting the way I wanted it to, because I don't like super baggy things. But this one should be a little bit baggy, just not as extreme as her. I believe it's like 10 inches of positive ease. That's just too much for me. I'm very petite and I don't want it to look like it's swallowing me, especially with the color choices that I have going on here. Very busy. I just don't want to look like I'm being swallowed by this busy printed yarn. I believe that's all I have to say about this one. I'm not sure if you guys will see it in the next podcast, because I'm not sure if I'll get too much work done on it, but I did want to show you this time because I did split for the sleeves, and you can actually see the yarn a lot better now, how it's working up. It's definitely going to be a very unique sweater, and I think it'll be a lot of fun to wear just because I made it, and that's really cool. So I can't wait to block it. That's my favorite part of making a sweater, is putting it in the water. I absolutely love that so much. Okay, so the next project that I'm going to show you lives in this project bag currently. It is a long time work in progress. I think I started it September 2017, which is a long time ago. And I have a hard time, like, I'll pull it out every 3 to 4 months and work on it, and then I'll just be like, I'm kind of over it, and then I just put it back in my little work in progress basket, which is right over here. But I pulled it back out and I was like, Lori, you're gonna finish it this time, because every year I'm like, you're gonna finish it in time for Thanksgiving, because I just think it'd make a really nice Thanksgiving sweater. And every year I never wear it to Thanksgiving. So I decided this year is gonna be the year, and if I start now, I have to finish it by Thanksgiving, right? Like, that's a long time away. So this is the Tea Leaf Cardigan, and it was a craftsy class that they asked me to partake in. So they did send me the yarn, and they did give me the class, which is really fun. And this is using the Cloudborn yarn in like a berry colorway. You can kind of see a sneak peek right here. And the pattern is by Bristol Ivy. You probably heard of her. She's a pretty big designer. And like I said, it's called the Tea Leaf Sweater. But it's a cardigan, and it's got some cool lace. This was the first time I ever did lace, and let me tell you, whenever I was working on this bottom part here, I frogged it like 4 or 5 times. So this is a huge accomplishment. Having this lace down here at the bottom is a huge accomplishment for me. It's a really cool pattern, and this is pre-blocked, so it will bloom a lot more, especially since I believe this is a super wash yarn. Sorry, it's kind of fuzzy if you can see the fuzzies on there. Like I said, it's been a work in progress for a long time, and it's traveled a couple of times in that process. But overall, this is what I have done. I just finished the saddles on the sleeves. If you don't know what a saddle is, it's basically this lace section here. So instead of just having a seam down your shoulder, you have this really nice panel that adds a nice little detail of lace. And it was actually so much fun to do. I was very intimidated by it. And I think that's why I didn't finish this pattern initially, because I was still a pretty new knitter at the time. And so whenever I pull it out, every time I pull it out, actually, it's just because I feel more confident in my knitting skills. So like the lace, I'm more confident in doing lace, and short rows, I'm more confident in doing short rows, and constructing garments. So it's been a great process for me to apply the skills that I have learned on my own, even though I could have learned them in the craftsy class. I did make a mistake in the lace on this saddle, which you can't really tell. Nobody else would notice ever, only me. And normally I would go back and frog, but I do not care. Like, this is the only project that I've just been like, I don't care. I'm not gonna frog it. And it's not bothering me at all, because really you can't tell. Like, I think the mistake is down here, but since the lace pattern is so busy, it kind of just all meshes in. So I think the next part of the pattern that I am doing is the sleeves, which I put it away because I didn't really want to do sleeves, because you do have to do a little lace section on the sleeves, and then you just knit stockinette. And then there is a neckline that is all lace as well, which has kind of just been like, oh, I don't want to do that. But I do really want to finish this, so that's why I'm showing it on the podcast. I think I finished the saddles Wednesday or Thursday. So the saddles are recently finished, and I think that it makes it acceptable to show it as a work in progress. And I swear I'm gonna finish it. Maybe I'll even work on it today, and who knows? Maybe I'll be showing you a finished object in the next podcast. But I still have my neck stitches held for the neckline. And what else is there to say? Since I have worked on it multiple different times, there are like some weird tension lines, nothing too major, and I know it's gonna come out with blocking. So that's something, if you have a work in progress and you're just like, I know the tension's gonna be off, it's not gonna look as good, just know that blocking can take care of that. So don't let that hold you back. I am making the size 2 in this sweater because I believe you can still get the craftsy class, or at least the pattern. So if you do decide that you want to make it after seeing this, I'm making the size 2. So it does look pretty oversized, and this is pre-neckline, but I'm pretty excited about that. And this is actually how I learned to do inset pockets. So basically you knit a piece in stockinette, and then you kind of like bind off some stitches and then recast them on, and then you slide on the pocket, and then you have some inset pockets. So I've used this on one of my patterns before, and I just am so happy that I got to learn that technique with this. I've learned a ton of techniques with this actually, so it's been a really great learning experience, and I can't wait to continue on with that. But I think that's all I have to say about my tea leaf sweater right now. Like I said, it's a never-ending work in progress. I did a poll on Instagram asking if I should finish it or if I should put it back away and cast on something else, and everybody said finish it, like good people. But instead of listening, I did cast on something else, so I do have another work in progress, a very small amount of work in progress. Alright, so sorry if there was a change in angle or anything. We just had an emergency maintenance thing. Our bathroom started flooding and they had to come fix that. So I'm going to move on to the last work in progress that I have to show you guys, and that is held in that cute pink bag that I showed you at the beginning. So I've been seeing everybody making the No Frill Sweater by Petite Knits lately, and I had some yarn in my collection that I didn't know what I was going to do with, and it was mohair and a fingering weight yarn that I got in my fiber share, and they went together pretty well. I'll show you guys here in a second. So I was like, let's try it. I don't know if I'm going to have enough to finish it. Maybe it'll be cropped, maybe the sleeves won't be as long, but at least I'm stash busting, right? So I went ahead and grabbed the pattern and cast it on because I had cast on itis, I guess. I just really was itching to cast something new on. So here is all I have so far, just the ribbing. It is in a nice gray color with some pretty speckles. I'm gonna show you the yarn I used right now. And here we are. So the mohair that I'm using is from Nox Yarn, which is probably one of my favorite indie dyers. She just has some really pretty yarns that really go with what I like, my style, and whatnot. And I actually had to frog a sweater that I was working on that I didn't like and recake it, and that was a pain in the butt. If you guys ever have to frog mohair, it's not fun. Luckily, my husband was kind enough to help me, and I think I saw a tip that if you put it in the freezer for a little bit, it'll help you frog it better, but I was too impatient and didn't do that. And then this is Hedgehog Fibers yarn, fingering yarn. I don't remember the name. Let me grab the other hank that I have here. And actually, I'll grab this as well so you can see her logo. So it's by Nox Yarn, the mohair, and this is in the colorway Dreamscapes, and it's in her Flora sock base, which is 20% kid mohair, 55% superwash merino, and 25% nylon. It's a 4-ply, and you get 435 yards. It's super pretty. So it's got a lot of colors going through it, which really complements the Hedgehog Fibers in my opinion. I thought that they would go really well together. I thought the colors were pretty similar. I'm not sure if I love it now that I'm working on it, but I think if I keep going and I get to the stockinette, I'll really see that change. But here's the Hedgehog Fibers one. I believe this is one of their older ones just because of the label. I did get this in my fiber share, but she knew she did good. So I love this one. This is their sock yarn in the color Salty Tails. It's 90% superwash merino and 10% nylon. So I believe that I cast it on for the extra small. Maybe I did the small. I'm not quite sure because I looked at the sizing, and she is a foreign designer, so her patterns are written a little bit differently and kind of a little bit confusing. I had to do some conversions online to see what the sizing was. So I think that the bust size for this one was supposed to be like 40 inches, which would be 4 inches of positive ease for me. So I just went with that size, and I'm pretty sure I did the extra small. But so far I just have the ribbing. If you guys aren't familiar with the No Frill Sweater, it's a pretty basic raglan. The thing that like really is unique about it, I guess, is it's made with mohair. But other than that, it's just a really simple raglan with no holes for the raglan increases. So I'm really excited to get going on this one, and I hope that I like it whenever I get further along. If not, it's gonna be a pain in the butt to frog, so I better just finish it. So I think that's all I have to say about my no frills, and that's really all I have to show you for this podcast. So if you guys enjoyed this video and you want to see more podcasts, be sure to subscribe. I definitely plan on making more. Hopefully I can keep up with the trend of every 2 weeks or so, because that would be perfect, but I don't know how much knitting time I'll get from then till now, or from now till then, so you'll just have to keep checking back. Be subscribed. Leave a comment down below if you have any questions or suggestions on video ideas that you would like to see from me. Be sure to follow me on Instagram and give me a like on this video, and I'll see you guys next time. Thanks so much for watching. Bye!